we have the top seed of the tournament, Grandmaster Vincent Keymer, taking on Aravindh Chithambaram here at the 5th round of the Tata Steel Masters 2026. Vincent Keymer has the white pieces. Aravindh is black here, and this will be an exciting game. Aravindh, until now, has been made 3 draws, but lost to Hans Niemann in round 4. Meanwhile, Vincent Keymer has had a win with Anish, then 2 losses, very much unlike him, and a draw with Erdogmus. So he'll be looking to strike back here, and the game begins with knight to f3. Aravindh Chithambaram opens the game with knight to f6. And Vincent goes pawn to c4. The English opening, and this can transpose into many different openings here. He plays his pawn to e6, knight to c3 and d5. Vincent goes d4, and now we are in main line d4 territory. Knight comes to d7. And white would love to put the bishop on g5, pinning the knight here. But Vincent goes for pawn takes pawn. Let's see the variation he chooses here, because a lot depends on whether you'll be putting your bishop on f4, you'll be putting your bishop on g5. He goes bishop to f4, and Aravindh plays bishop b4. He pins the knight, and e3 played, but this is risky strategy because now knight to e4 jumps in, pins the knight. You need to save it. The queen goes to c2, putting pressure on the knight here, and g5. Very sharp play. Very sharp. Bishop comes to e5, attacking the rook. You can play rook g8 here. You can also take on e5. But castles, well, this is a very rarely played move. And look at Nodirbek there. He's looking at the game. Bishop d3 played by Vincent. He's attacking the pawn here. The knight on e4. And Aravindh goes pawn to g4. Wow, this is some sharp opening preparation. And Vincent says, thank you so much, Aravindh. Because if you take here, bishop at 7 is a checkmate. So he takes on e4. And now you can move the knight. But queen e4 is such a nice move, because if you take on f3, I have queen g4, checkmate. f5 played, attacking the queen here and the knight. Queen comes to d5, check. And rook blocks it. He goes knight to d2. And let's take stock of the position. Black is a pawn down here. And what is the compensation that black has is the big question. Well, it's the lead in development here that he has. But it's not like really a lead in development, because these pieces are not developed. He takes on e5. Can't take on b4 because of nd3 check. So takes back. And maybe queen e7, a5 played. Aravindh still in his prep, while Vincent down to 1 hour 22 minutes. He plays rook d1. He's preparing short castle, and now the knight is defended by the rook. b5 played. Aravindh is not letting Vincent settle down. Queen takes c6, bishop b7 can make the position go completely crazy. So Vincent says, I won't touch that pawn. I'll go queen f4. But he's bleeding on time. 40 minutes ahead is Aravindh Chithambaram. And Aravindh plays queen e7. And right now, if you castle, for example, in this position, then black is doing okay. With a4, maybe bishop a5, bishop c7 and trying to win the pawn. If black wins this pawn back, then white has nothing, because black is having the 2 bishops. Knight e2 played. Very interesting choice here by Vincent. He wants to maybe put his knight on d4, putting pressure here and here on knight g3. Bishop comes to d7. Now the plan is rook e8 and queen takes e5. I'm curious to see what Vincent comes up with here. He plays pawn to a3. And now notice that taking here won't be a good idea, because after rook e8, castles, queen e5, just rook d1 or queen g5, white is clearly better with the knight coming here. So he goes bishop c5, keeping the bishop. Aravindh playing this well. Queen goes to g3. And now it's important to note that Vincent wants to play f4. And so rook g7 would be very helpful. He plays rook e8. I don't know if basically Aravindh underestimated f4 or what's his point here, because f4 is a nice move by Vincent. Now no en passant, because the pawn is pinned and you suddenly get a protected passer. But h5, this was his idea. His plan is to push h4. But Vincent has an incredibly strong move here. Try to find what's the best move for white. It takes advantage of a big fact of this pin here. And Vincent, well, he's found it. Knight to f3, a beautiful move. Can't take the knight. It's pinned and it's jumping to g5. Rook g7 played. You couldn't even take on e3 because knight g5 attacks the rook and the queen attacks the bishop. So rook g7, knight jumps to g5, and all of a sudden white is a pawn up and also has an amazing knight on g5. h4, now this is desperation. Queen takes pawn. I believe Aravindh wants to take the pawn on e3. He takes it. Bishop takes e3. And maybe some ideas of taking on f4 and then on g5, but that doesn't work because the bishop on d7 is a bit soft. But anyway, he comes back. He takes on g5 and exchange sack. Well, the point is, if you take here f4 and black is already better. So if you take knight f4, queen e5, and the king is super weak. However, he just simply plays queen e3, rook h5. And as you can see here, this is a very, very straightforward winning position for white. That's because right now white is a pawn up, has the much safer king, has the open d file, better knight, everything is better. h3, he just opens up the king side. You know, another way to play was rook d6 and try to double on the d file, but takes. I think Vincent believes in his position and he believes the fact that he can actually checkmate the black king. Rook d6 now. Very interesting move here by Vincent Keymer. If queen h4 check, I can give a counter check and trade queens. He goes rook d8. And now I'm curious to see what Vincent continues with. Aravindh trying to make it a bit complicated here. You can take the pawn, but the best move is knight to d4, attacking the bishop and the pawn. Finds it. Knight d4 attacks the bishop and the pawn. Bishop comes to d5. And queen g3 check. He's played it here. King to f8. And rook f6 check. King e8. And take on h3. Rook takes pawn. Rook takes rook taken. Queen takes. And now f5 is hanging. And also queen h8 check is coming in. He goes queen to c5, pinning the knight. And the thing is, if you go for a check here, there's king d7 and can run away. But like, for example, if I go rook d6, there's queen takes d6 in this position. However, if you think about it, if I move the king and now if queen takes d4, I have check and check. and it's game over. So there's nothing much that that Aravindh can do here. In fact, he's completely busted in this position. He resigns. Vincent Keymer wins, plays an incredibly strong game here. The youngster from Germany showing why he is the world number 4 today. Aravind's strategy of playing the risky opening backfired. And Aravindh, I think, just missed this entire idea with f4 and knight f3. I think that was not a great thing. If he would have played rook g7, it was very good compensation for him. And well, these are all great learning experiences for Aravindh. Meanwhile, Vincent Keymer is back to 50% in this tournament. And it's wonderful to see both of them analyze with each other to learn from this experience for Aravindh. He can go back as a stronger player from Vaikanze. And I think that's what every chess player wants to do. They want to win their games, but if they lose, they want to make it a learning experience.
The early opening stages, but things are already quite crazy.
Yeah, I believe it's kind of his goal to get crazy positions against me. He did the same in Prague. Back then I was lost very quickly, so I'm glad this time was better. Yeah, Castle, I do remember this move exists, but I also didn't remember how to reply to it. So I feel like the position we got here is something I've seen, but only very vaguely, so it must have been quite some time ago. I'm not sure whether knight g1 is completely stupid, but I spent some time considering it. But okay, it's like too big of a choice. So yeah, and now again, queen c4, queen b3, 2 moves. I decided to go for queen c4. And yeah, because I wanted to have this option of bringing my queen to f4. That was basically the main idea. He said, I think, that b5 he was still prepared.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, you can also see he was playing quite quickly, already more than half an hour up on the clock. And I played queen f4, which I believe is the move he didn't know. And yeah, now I'm not sure. I had the feeling that maybe queen e7 is not the best move in the position, but...
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. So that was the first moment he spent some proper time. At my level, I always feel, okay, well, they're clearly out of prep now, which probably means my move wasn't the best. How did you feel when he started thinking?
I was quite happy, to be honest. Like, I didn't believe queen f4. I mean, I didn't blunder anything, that's for sure. I also didn't believe it was a really bad move. So it's more like, probably it wasn't the first line, but that didn't concern me too much. I mean, if queen c6 is the best move and I'm running into prep, it can't end very well. So that's for sure. So I was quite happy with that. And already here after knight e2, I was feeling like, okay, my position looks quite nice. I think bishop d7 was nice. And here I have so many options, like these knights, they can jump everywhere, so I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Would you say this is a case of the knight pair being stronger than the bishop pair?
No, not really. No. It's more that I have this extra pawn, and you know, it's only one pawn, but still material counts. And yeah, I was trying to, you know, solidify that pawn. I think in many cases I could take like some a5 pawn and some line and give e5, and we'll get to an endgame. But there, I mean, the bishops are so strong when it's open that I believe he will have enough compensation. So I was trying to close it. Yeah, I'm not sure rook e8. Oh, that was too much. Maybe he could have played h5 immediately or something, because I'm not sure whether he missed it, but I felt that once my knight got to g5, I was very happy with my position. Yeah, queen g3, queen c5 was the other move. When I had 2 options, like, okay, basically his idea is to go rook e5 or rook g5, next he will start sacking something. So I have the option of either playing h4 and trying to stabilize this, or go rook d3. Rook d3, then he would go for this, I believe. And, well, at least now there's no direct attack, so I'm pretty safe. He has some compensation. I'm not sure it's lost, but I'm definitely better. So that was not worrying me too much, and h4 was even an extra option. So, but yeah, rook g5 must have been really like... Basically, it's accepting a lost position. So, you know, I would have at least tried to go queen c5. Probably it's lost also, but there at least you have some, you know, some chances for me to go wrong. This position is just too nice. I have all the dark squares, pawn up. His king is very weak, and I believe then I converted it like quite
smoothly.
Yeah.